Hello, everybody. My name is Lynn Arns, and along with Beth Mosier, we are the co-chairs of the REACH Committee. Today's information session will be a general overview of the REACH program and information on the program changes for 2020. So if you are here in Halligan, be sure to sign in. And if you are here logging in via Zoom meeting, please enter your name and department or clinic into the chat section, and then we will use that information to log you into NetLearning so that you get credit for attending today's information session. For the Zoom meeting attendees, I've had this slide up, but just in case you didn't have a chance to read it, you are going to be muted during the presentation. If you have any questions, you can type them into the chat section, and then these questions will be addressed at the end of the information session. Furthermore, if there are any questions from the attendees in Halligan, I'm going to repeat those so that people calling in are going to be able to hear those questions as well. So let's get started with today's information session. So what is REACH? For those of you who have never submitted a REACH portfolio before, REACH is a nice little acronym recognizing excellence and achievement. The purpose of REACH is to recognize and reward clinical and non-clinical Mercy and MPS employees who contribute to providing a quality healthcare experience through ongoing professional development. And there are two pieces where we can reward people, and that's a financial incentive and also recognition, which is the Celebration of Excellence dinner, which we have out at the Hotel Kirkwood every November. Required criteria to be part of the eligible for the REACH program: you need to be employed at Mercy or MPS for a minimum of 12 months, have or be a 0.5 FTE or greater, and or if you've worked more than 1,040 hours in the previous 12 months. And what that means kind of just essentially is, if you're maybe not a 0.5 FTE, maybe you're 0.4, 0.3, but in the past year you have worked more than 1,040 hours, you would be eligible for REACH based on the amount of hours you worked within the past year. The next item is consistently demonstrating the iCare values, and then also consistently meeting standards 3 or above on each section of your performance evaluation. Other required criteria to be eligible is that there's no written corrective action for the past 12 months, adhering to policies and procedures, completing mandatory education required by your position. So what that means is, if you work as a rad tech and you are required to have education in order to do your job, if you have not completed that piece of education, that piece needs to be done before we can start the REACH process, or you could do they just want to make sure that you have the bandwidth to work on the REACH portfolio, that you've completed all of your other education. Employees who are eligible for clinical ladder or who are eligible for a management bonus are not eligible for REACH. So the 5 components of the REACH program are performance improvement and involvement, education, the Mercy Touch, leadership, and critical thinking. At the very end of the program, or at the end of the information session, I'm going to pull us all out to the portal, and we can take a look and see how that is broken down for the REACH program specifically, to kind of give you a better idea of what we're looking for. The first step, if you want to take part in the REACH program, is having a conversation with your manager. So discuss with your manager and determine, do you think that you would be eligible to be part of the program? Do they support your participation in the program? Do you currently have the bandwidth in your job to dedicate the time to submitting a portfolio for REACH? The next step is submitting your letter of intent. And this sounds a little intimidating because the letter of intent makes it sound like, oh, I need to get a letter, I need to have someone sign off on it. Honestly, the letter of intent is just a simple web form that is available on the REACH portal site. At the very end, when we pop out to the portal, I will show you what that looks like. And then prior to the actual portfolio submission, when it comes time due in August, your manager will need to sign off on different forms and sections of the portfolio. So there's kind of that initial sign off that your manager has when you're having the discussion of whether you want to be part of REACH or submit a REACH program, portfolio. And at the very end, right before you submit, just having their final sign off that, yes, you indeed did these projects. Yes, I did sign off on that. I'm kind of giving their stamp of approval. There are 2 different levels for the REACH program. REACH level 1 is a 150-point minimum. REACH level 2 is a 300-point minimum. And a portfolio that is submitted in August of 2020 this year can contain evidence and documentation from the previous 2 years. So a portfolio due August of this year, you can use evidence from August 1st, 2018 through July 31st of 2020. So that gives you 2 full years to compile the points needed for whichever level you are trying to go for. So program details and dates. So the opportunity to apply for or renew your REACH program is accepted once a year. The letter of intent and applications forms submitted online by July 1st. You are strongly encouraged to submit a letter of intent, and that's that little web form I was just talking about. If you change your mind, you have honestly lost nothing, but if you decided after July 1st that you wanted to participate, you would not be eligible to submit a REACH portfolio for this year. That letter of intent is absolutely required for you to submit a portfolio, and that due date is July 1st. The portfolios are due in the HR office by 4:30 p.m. on Monday, August 3rd. No exceptions. Typically our turn-in date is August 1st, but that's on a Saturday this year, so we pushed it out to the next business day, which is going to be Monday, August 3rd. So currently for folks here in-house at Mercy, your portfolios are due to the HR office. For those of you in the MPS clinics, we will pass that information on to you at a later time about where you should turn in your forms once we have a better idea of what we're going to do there. Once you have achieved your REACH status, I guess of level 1 or level 2, employees shall maintain that status for the next 24 months unless they are deemed ineligible. And then to maintain your REACH status, so once you've achieved REACH, you can just reapply once every 24 months and submit a new portfolio every other year. So REACH bonuses. So because of the 2 levels, level 1 and level 2, we have 2 different levels of REACH bonus. So level 1 is $1,600 a year for 2 years. So the bonus payouts occur quarterly in the months of January, April, July, and October. So for example, an employee achieves REACH level 1 in August of 2020, they will receive $1,600 gross bonus amount per year over the next 2 years. And you can see how I've kind of plotted that out in year 1 and year 2 based on those quarterly payments. Again, these are gross payments. There's always going to be those deductions that come out of bonus checks that's just a fact of life, I guess. So $400 gross in October of 2020, January 2021, April 2021, and July 2021. And then again for year 2, kind of repeat it again. So for bonus level 2, for REACH level 2, it's $2,400 a year for 2 years. Again, bonus payouts are quarterly, and the example is broken down below. So you're receiving $2,400 gross per year for the next 2 years. So REACH program involvement. So the REACH program was originally established back in 2011, and it was revised in 2015, and essentially every year after that it was revised. We typically revise this every year because it helps to improve the process for the application for folks who are applying for REACH. It helps to align with the clinical ladder process. It allows the program to evolve with changes within Mercy and MPS, their programs and policies. And then also in an effort just to increase program participation. So if you have already submitted a REACH portfolio before, I just wanted to highlight some of the changes that have happened since last year. This year, MPS staff are now eligible to apply, which is an exciting addition. Before we only just had it available to folks in the Mercy, kind of in the main hospital here. And now we can extend that out to the folks out in MPS. We've also increased the bonus amounts. Before, the bonus amounts were kind of a confusing formula to calculate. They're now flat, not calculated on your hourly wage. So it's a kind of much cleaner, clearer understanding of what the bonuses are available to everybody. Bonus payments are now made quarterly. They used to be made twice annually, so now they're going to go to a quarterly format. That also aligns to Clinical Ladder. Clinical Ladder has done their bonuses on a quarterly basis. So We've updated the eligibility, stating that employees need to be at Mercy or MPS for a minimum of 1 year. And the reason that was done is honestly just to make sure, that people can get a good solid amount of time to compile evidence and documentation for their REACH portfolio. It used to be 6 months, and it's hard to kind of build a portfolio in that short amount of time. We've updated the eligibility, stating that employees who are less than a 0.5 FTE can also be eligible if they've worked more than 1,040 hours, kind of what I had previously mentioned at the beginning here. We've updated the format for the REACH reference guide document, and when we're out on the portal here, I'll show you that as well, how that looks a little bit different than previous years. We've added verbiage to the REACH reference guide on HIPAA concerns and redacting sensitive information. The reason we added that is because sometimes if you're submitting evidence and documentation, it may have some sensitive information. Maybe I work in the billing department and I did a project that talks about different finance type things, or if I work in the finance department and it shows different finance things, that might be sensitive information that isn't really for public eyes or public knowledge. So you can redact that information by using whiteout or using a Sharpie to black it out. Same thing if maybe you were a patient care tech and you did your portfolio and you did a screenshot of something in Epic. It's just making sure that you black out any patient information and redact that information. We really don't want to have anything on the portfolios that could be sensitive or a violation of HIPAA. If you use a project or item across 2 different categories, which we kind of lovingly refer to as double dipping, you can still do that. You just need to describe how the evidence that you're including applies to the specific category in question. So again, I can kind of explain this a little bit when we go out to the portal and look at the form, but it's just making sure, like for example, maybe you are part of a committee and you created a piece of education that you've created to kind of inform people of this new project or this new committee that you're part of. Just making sure that you delineate, yes, I was part of this committee, that's one piece of information, but I've also created this piece of education that's all part of the same committee, but slightly different. I was part of the committee, I get points for that, but then I can get points for creating this piece of education and educating people on it. Another thing is adding an item to personal education section about earning your bachelor's, master's, or doctorate degree related to your employment at Mercy within the current documentation period. So for example, let's say last May, I got my bachelor's degree and it has something to do with my employment here at Mercy. To reward those folks who have kind of gone above and beyond to go back to school and earn these things, you can get a 100-point bonus in this section, which, if you remember, our point value is 150 points and 300 points. That's a significant amount of points to kind of reward those folks who are going above and beyond, because going back to school is a tremendous time commitment, and you're really doing it to be kind of, become a better employee, kind of become a more rounded person. And we want to recognize that. We've also made numerous updates and clarified verbiage throughout the REACH reference guide, the 2020 required criteria form, and just the various forms that we use for the submission of the portfolios. It is really imperative that you use the most recent documents and read each section thoroughly. This is kind of aimed at those folks who have submitted a portfolio in the past. Please make sure that you do not use old materials. Make sure you're using the 2020 version of materials. So, tools and resources. So, like I said, we're going to go out to the portal in a bit, but to get there, the portal page is where you're going to find materials that are absolutely vital to submitting a successful portfolio. You're going to find the template, forms, the reference guide, which will show you the documentation that you need to include within your portfolio. To get out to the to find that item out on the portal, we're going to go to the portal, committees and project, and REACH. Again, like I said, we're going to go there in a bit. I just want to kind of call that out to you where you to go. All right. For those of you who are new to REACH and feel like I have thrown a lot of information on you, you might feel like a deer in the headlights, and that is understandable, but I don't want you to worry. We can help. I'll give you personal experience. When I submitted my first REACH portfolio, it felt like this huge daunting task. But you know, reaching out to people who have already submitted a portfolio, reaching out to people on the committee, you know, and just kind of just reading and kind of doing some digging, it became a lot less daunting. We do have Reach Help sessions that we hold. These are going to be scheduled beginning in April, and that's tentative, obviously, with everything going on right now, through July. The dates are currently in the calendar section of the Reach portal page, and they're also going to be communicated via the Friday emails and in vital signs. So we have 2 in April, 1 in May, 1 in June, and 2 in July. All of these sessions are held at 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. in Mercy's basement computer training room. If possible, if you are, you know, if you have the ability to get away from your clinic to come to these help sessions, if you have that ability, MPS staff are welcome to attend these Reach Help sessions here at Mercy. As for actually having MPS Reach Help sessions, those dates, we can determine those on an as-needed basis. Since it's new to MPS this year, we're kind of finding our way as we go and learning what is the best way to get that information out to you folks in MPS sites. So, you know, if you do need individual help for a help session, reach out to us and we can see what we can do for you. So these help sessions that are here at the hospital in the basement computer training room, they're 2 hours long. These are drop-in sessions. You are not expected to come and sit down there for 2 hours. You can pop in, ask questions, get advice. Maybe you have something that you're not entirely sure. Would this work for Reach? Would it not work for Reach? This is what we're there for, to help you figure out. We can kind of point you in the right direction, kind of guide you where you need to go to help you with a successful portfolio. And like I said at the very bottom there, you're strongly encouraged to bring your portfolio, bring your pieces of evidence. We want to look at it, we want to help you with that and get your questions answered. These are all the folks on the Reach committee members. Beth and I are up top there. We are the Reach co-chairs. But also I put our pictures out there for everybody else too, because it might be, hey, I recognize that face. So now you can put a name to a face. The other folks on our committee are Megan Duffy, Sam Schaefer, Tony Fortman, Kayla Freed, Gina Pennington, Heather Bonner, Ashley Crumbaugh, and Jane Detrick. The bottom 4 folks there on the bottom of the screen are all MPS folks. So folks that you can reach out to, obviously you can reach out to any one of us in the committee. All of us, our names are listed on the Reach portfolio, or pardon me, on the Reach portal site as well. So you can get our contact information from there. All right. So let's take a quick field trip from the PowerPoint presentation over to the Reach portal page. I'm going to pull this up on my screen so you can kind of watch as I do it. The kind of pathway to get there is just the normal Mercy portal, committees and project, and Reach. So if you hold a moment here, I'm going to hop out of the PowerPoint presentation and we're going to hop over to the portal. Okay. Now, as long as everybody can hear, see our portal page. So this is just our usual Mercy portal. And then to get to the Reach section, you kind of see there is this committees and projects. You'll click on that and go to the Reach section of the portal. Is that here? All right, so hopping out into the Reach portal, there's a little blurb about the Reach program itself, when it was established, a little background. But if you scroll a bit, we can see kind of different Reach program information, and this is stuff that I've already discussed in our PowerPoint presentation, but kind of nice little repeat there for you if you can look at later. We can also see the steps to apply. So the Reach committee, put this out here with the new revised 2020 materials. Like I said, if you have previously submitted, you're really, you're encouraged to attend those help sessions. Hopefully enough folks have hopped into these information sessions to help them out as well. But these are the steps that will kind of help guide you through. At the very bottom here are the required forms, which we'll hop into in a sec. I'm going to scroll it a tiny little bit just so we can see over on the far right side. Here are the site contacts. So here are all the folks from the Reach committee. You'll see that it only shows the top 5. If you click into site contacts, it'll list all of our information with a contact number. Going back, we'll scroll a bit also and show you. There is a calendar section as well that kind of shows the upcoming dates and important information that could be helpful to you. All the little currently scheduled Reach help sessions show up on here. Here's today's information session. You can look at this as kind of a list view, or if you clicked into calendar, it'll plot that out for you in a nice calendar view. I have out here as well, if we look at July, here is the Reach letter of intent due date. There are the help sessions in July. And then August, Reach portfolios are due. So nice little spot to go to see kind of all of the important due dates for the Reach program. So let's talk a little bit about our letter of intent, since that's kind of right there. Remember when I talked earlier about a letter of intent, don't let this be an intimidating thing for you. It's really just a simple web form. When it comes time for you to fill out your letter of intent, and you are free to do that right now if you wish, clicking on the letter of intent just takes you to a really simple web form. First name, last name, address, city, state, zip. All of the little guys with the red asterisk are required answers. When it comes time to include your manager on this, the best way to do this is to click on this little browse. It looks like a little book. Clicking on that will allow you to enter a name. Tim Seek, for example, is my manager. So if I clicked on his name then, oopsie, hold on. Okay, there we go. If I clicked on Tim's name then, his name would populate down into that box. And we know that this is going to, populate with his correct information. And what that will do is send your manager an email saying, hey, so-and-so has submitted a letter of intent for Reach. They can then sign off on that via the portal. I'm going to go back down all the way to the bottom to our required forms section. So this is an important section of the Reach portal page, because this will show you the Reach reference guide and the Reach required criteria form, as well as kind of miscellaneous Word documents here that you will need for when it comes time to submit your form. These are going to be the forms that your manager signs off on. The very bottom item is a Reach tips and tricks PDF document. Essentially, it's a PowerPoint presentation that gives you nice little tips and tricks on how to submit a successful portfolio. This is great for new people who have never submitted a portfolio before, but it's also a great kind of refresher for those of you who've already submitted a folder. These are the things that we are looking for as portfolio reviewers to help kind of make a really easy to follow portfolio, allows us as reviewers to be able to match up information in your portfolio based on what's in the reference guides and what's in the required criteria form. So even if you've submitted a form portfolio before, I still really highly suggest you tap into this Reach tips and tricks guide. I think it'd be really good information for you. So let's talk about these top two forms here, the Reach reference guide and the Reach required criteria form. I'm going to start with the reference guide, but these two documents together are going to work together in tandem. They're like brother and sister documents. These are the two documents that you will use probably most often when you're going through your portfolio. These are the documents that will tell you what supporting documentation you need to submit and kind of help you out along the way. I'm going to click on this first one. Now, if you've submitted a Reach portfolio before, there's always been a reference guide. We've kind of tweaked it a little bit this year to make it a little easier to read, to know what supporting documentation to submit. I'm going to scroll a bit kind of through the blurbs up top. So, in addition to the required evidence and documentation listed next to each item, your manager will need to sign the following 4 verification forms. These are those Microsoft Word forms that I had previously mentioned. And this will tell you where to place them in your portfolio. But here are the sections of the Reach portfolio. Remember when I was talking about the different 5 sections, there's performance, improvement, and involvement, education, Mercy Touch, so on and so forth. Each of the items in the REACH portfolio that you could submit are all numbered with a nice little, PA1, PA2, MC1, MC2, different numbers to kind of make them easier to identify and find. But here's an example of an item that you could submit. Project, you could lead or act as a project owner for a department/unit or Greenbelt performance improvement project that is pre-approved by your department manager and aligned with Mercy's strategic plan. So let's say you were part of maybe you were part of a Greenbelt, maybe just a member of the Greenbelt project. This particular one, PI1, is you've act as a lead or a project owner, but maybe I was just a member of a Greenbelt. Well, then that would apply to PA2. I've participated in a department performance improvement project and or Greenbelts. So this is, I've led a Greenbelt, this is, I've participated in a Greenbelt. And then for each of these different specific items, there's a required documentation section. So maybe I'm doing PA2. I just need to complete a project record form, one per project, to note what I've done. I'm gonna scroll a bit just to show you some different examples. So Mercy MPS committee. I was a chair or co-chair of a committee or work team and regularly attended meetings. This doesn't fall under team captains for JDRF EFY commit to community. That would fall at a later section, and that's just to kind of point you there. So maybe you were a chair of a work team and regularly attended meetings. You just have to fill out the committee involvement form. Community professional involvement. Maybe you're a general member of a community organization that you're involved with, like a church group or a school committee. You just have to complete the committee involvement form. So this is a nice little kind of checklist where you can go to see what different pieces of required documentation you need to submit to prove that you have completed these different projects and different things. But let's hop over to our kind of sister form to this one's brother form, the 2020 REACH criteria, required criteria form. So this is a nice Excel spreadsheet that you can go to plot out what you have completed. So the previous form kind of told you what you needed for documentation. This is where you're telling us, yes, I have done these things and I'm checking them off. So we'll go back to our project here. Remember we had done our PA2, participated in a department performance improvement and or Greenbelt project. So yeah, I did that. You can put an X there. And I want you to pay attention to the point values and your points over here once I've entered that X and tabbed over. It'll automatically calculate your points for you. If there are 2 boxes available, you can be part of 2 different, you could submit that thing twice. If, let's say, you participated in a department performance improvement project, maybe for one project, and then there was a different performance improvement project that you took part in. If you did 2, you can X both of those, and now you have 20 points in that area. I'm gonna X out of there. I want you to pay attention to as well, each of these sections, so like section A, project, this particular section has a minimum of 10 points. So you need to at least hit the minimums in each section. Now some sections, such as Mercy MPS committee, doesn't have a minimum requirement. So and the reason for that is maybe somebody is working in a position where they just don't have the opportunity to be part of a committee. We don't require that piece, but there are sections like community professional involvement. Here you would need at least 10 points. So just pay attention to each of these different sections, minimum points. You have to hit an overall score, if you remember from the beginning, at least 150 points for level 1 or 300 points for level 2. As you go through this form and complete things along the way, it'll automatically calculate your score all the way to the bottom, and it will tell you what your total score ends up being. Right now we can say I'm not eligible because I haven't hit my minimums in all the sections or in the points value. So this is a nice form. Any of the forms that are out on the research or out on the REACH portal, you should save a copy of those forms to your personal drive on your computer so that you can edit them, you can do different things to them. Right now, when it's out on the portal, it's read-only. You don't want to make changes to forms out on the portal, so be sure to save that to your own P drive on your work laptop or computer. One thing I want to call out too, so remember how I'd said you could have two pieces of information if there are two kind of yellow blocks. But for this particular one, for CPA 6 and CPA 7, being a Mercy or MPS representative at an offsite event, for example, community health fair or community event, for 8 hours or less collectively. Then it also has that for 8 hours or more collectively. So you can only answer that one once. So maybe you had volunteered for health fairs for a total of 6 hours. You would put an X there and calculate as 10. It's going to gray out that next one because you can't do, both of those, because if you, have worked, or maybe you volunteered for 16 hours collectively, you couldn't answer both of those. You would just have to answer one of those. So maybe I volunteered a total of 20 hours for an offsite event. I would just X that, and then that would give me the calculation of 15 points. And you'll see those kind of pop up in different spots where there is only one box. So for example, attending a REACH information session or a REACH help session, you can get 5 points. So all of you who are calling into Zoom today, you get 5 points for attending today. So you would put an X there, and that would calculate 5 points. So once you say this to your P drive, this kind of becomes your working living document to document what you have submitted, kind of what's in your portfolio. At the very end, you're going to print this completed document off, and that will go at the front of your REACH portfolio. All right. I'm going to pop back out to the chat section here and see if we have any questions so far. If it will let me. Go to our questions. All right. Bear with me. I have a pop-up menu that's not cooperating with me. All right. Here is our chat session. So, looking to see. Okay, one of the questions was, okay, well, I missed the beginning of the portion. I believe you stated to send our name and show we attended, so thank you for that, Alexandra. The next question we have is, if I got REACH last year, will the increase in money automatically increase to this year? The answer to that is yes. So that will bump up for those who have increased, or who submitted last year. Another question here is, I'm currently an adjunct faculty at the MMU for the nursing programs. Do I get points for that? Yes, that would fall under, specifically, I can't look in front of me, but that would fall under, I guess I could dig back through the thing, but yes, you could definitely count that. It's probably being part of a community organization or in a professional organization. And if you have questions about that specifically too, just reach out to us and we can kind of pinpoint where that is in the REACH materials. We would be happy to do that for you if you're not finding the one that specifically plugs that in. But yes, that is definitely something that you could count towards REACH. No problem. And I know this is, especially for those of you who have not submitted a portfolio before, this seems daunting and it seems like a lot. And the first time you do submit a portfolio, it is a little overwhelming. It has, it's a lot of moving parts. And the best advice I can give you is follow those documents, those two kind of the Excel spreadsheet and that kind of checklist document that tells you the required documentation to include. If you use those two items together, it kind of just baby steps your way through that and really will make your life a lot easier. Once you have submitted a portfolio, all of the subsequent portfolios become extremely much easier to do because you know exactly kind of what pieces of documentation to hold aside. So maybe you were part of a meeting or a project. Well, I'm going to hold that aside in like a special folder on my Outlook just so I can easily get back to that when I want to pull documentation for my REACH portfolio. So I keep a paper folder on my desk of kind of paper REACH documentation, and I can also keep an electronic folder on my computer to kind of pull my REACH documents in kind of as they happen, so that it's not like one big creation at the end. That way we can just, easily kind of pull those pieces together when it comes time for the REACH documentation period. So once you've done one, the next ones will become a lot easier. And you could talk to other folks too who have submitted portfolios, and I think they would all agree. The first one's a little daunting. Second one is a lot easier. The other piece of advice that I would give to you is do not wait until the last minute to put your REACH portfolio together. Like I said, the letter of intent is due July 1st. Don't put pressure on yourself to have to try to put this all together at the last minute so that it's due August 3rd. I would suggest starting right now. I would do your letter. If you're possibly interested, even if you're not sure, if you're on the fence, go ahead and submit a letter of intent now. Like I said, if you submitted it and you changed your mind, no harm, no foul. You just maybe want to do it again next year. So that would be my advice to you. Don't wait until the last minute, because it's a lot of moving parts, and especially if you've never done one before, it might just take a little bit of time to kind of decide how you're going to attack it. So, but it's a great bonus. It's a great recognition of the time and energy and what you do here at Mercy to help create kind of a perfect patient experience for everybody that walks through our doors, even if you don't have direct patient care. Because REACH, is kind of the alternative to clinical ladder. Clinical ladder is kind of the nurse-only piece, but there are a ton of people that help make this hospital function and be fantastic. And we're seeing that right now with everything that's going on. It honestly is taking a village to make this all come together. So we absolutely want to recognize the work that everybody is doing here, and that's recognition monetarily through the bonus, but it's also recognizing folks at that REACH dinner, which is held at the Hotel Kirkwood, which is a really lovely evening to recognize people and their contributions. Any other questions? And like I said, if you do have questions and maybe you're not comfortable asking through the chat, just go out to the REACH portal site, find the different folks that are on the REACH committee. It's also going to be in this PowerPoint, which we're going to push out hopefully to the REACH portal as a YouTube video. You could also see the PowerPoint again if you wanted. But you could always go out to the portal and see the folks on the REACH committee, and we would be more than happy to answer questions. Also, come down and see us at a REACH help session. If you're out at the MPS clinics and you feel you need help, feel free to give us a call and we can see what we can do for you. If we need to, send somebody out to come out and help you, or if we can kind of do it virtually. We're kind of trying this all out new with MPS this year, so we're going to get it all figured out and make it work for everybody. So any other questions? All right. I'd like to thank you all attending for today's REACH information session. If you do have questions, head out to the portal or contact us, and have a great day and stay safe, everybody. Oh.